Yes, this was discussed yesterday. Basically, when you do the pre-scan check, means before really you um, you start inserting the scan chains, you do some checks. Okay, that's what we call it as a pre-DFT DRC, and it does check uh, for lack of scan equivalents. Suppose in the library you don't have any scan equivalents, or if you have any protocol issues with respect to the clocks, resets, and DRC is not met because of the different issues what we have discussed in the DRC slides. And once the DRCs are clean, then it will try to go and follow these algorithmic steps and try to insert the scan chains. Okay, and obviously it will try to resolve any of the DRCs if you have a autofix command. So basically it targets the scan path architecture, means as you have given an inputs like how many scan chains, scan in, scan out, scan clock, which one pins has to be reused and which pin has to be newly created, etc. And if any remaining scan conversions, normal flop to scan flops, it will be done. And it has to enable or disable any of the tri-state buses. It does it. We'll see the details in the next slide. What do you mean by tri-state buses? And IO pads, right? You're defining a particular pad to use as a scanning or a scan out. So who will configure that pad? Because this is a bidirectional pad. It can be used as input and output as well, or output as well. So who will go and tell that, okay, this bidirectional pad now I'm using as a scanning, so it should be in input mode. Or this bidirectional pad I'm using as a scan out, this should be in a output mode. So who will tell that, right? So these are the configurations which scan mode has to be done, or during the scan session you need to set it in such a way that when I'm in a scan mode, these pins has to be configured in scan input mode, these pins has to be output mode because I am using them as scan input and scan output. So those are the constraints to look for. You have defined some pin or some port as a output port, which is a scan out, but actually is that bidirectional pad really configured into output mode or not? If it is not, then it will say that, hey, you want me to use this pad or output bidi pad as the output port of the scan out, but actually it is not configured to output. It is in input mode, right? Something like that. If any such issues, it will tell you while doing the scan session. Wires the scan flops into specified chains. Basically, this is where you have scan chains formed with all the scan flops hooked up together as a shift register. Optimizes the logic, minimize constraint violations. So this is what basically the auto fixing, if needed, it does it. So the examples like a tri-state, when you say that how it looks like, okay, there are multiple drivers for the design perspective. So tri-state is never an issue if you drive the same values like a 0, 0 or a 1, 1. But it is an issue when you try to drive a 0, 1 or a 1, 0, right? So it look for any such occurrences during the scan mode. If not, we are fine. Okay. And the same way as I just now explained that BiDi port is there and you define this as a scan output. But what do you need when you're in a scan output? This path has to be enabled, right? Because you want to use this as a output port because this is a scan out. So somebody has to set this enable signal in such a way that it has to be 0. So the 0 will go here and it will disable this path, which is an input path, and this will enable, so which will work as an output port. So somebody has to set this value, right? By design, is that happening or not? It will check. Latches, as we discussed, that latches are need to be transparent because there is no operation expected during the scan mode from the latches, right? So they are all looks like a transparent or buffers kind of thing. So enable signals for the latches are coming or not in a scan mode so that they are all act as a transparent because we are not converting them into a scan